Our project today is restoring this handlebar and gooseneck assembly. This is very stiff, and if you can see it here, this handlebar assembly itself is split. This is a DOM tubing, and it's drawn over a mandrel. They form it by curving the metal over a die and then forcing it in there to the right diameter. The wall thickness, I have a little sketch here that we're working with. If you can see this, the wall thickness is about 66 thousandths or a 16th of an inch. Inside diameter is 1 inch. This shows a handlebar assembly up on top. It comes in about 1.25 inches. But there's an insert that's 3 1/8 inches long. The outside diameter is 1 inch because the ID here is 1 inch. And the inside diameter is 3/4 of an inch. And the handle, the fork itself is, the total thickness of that is 400 thousandths that the tapered pin goes through on each side. So if your tapered pin is stuck and you have to drill it out, you only have to drill that far on each side. The middle part is free. So let's get started here. The first thing I noticed, if you're going to take the assembly apart, you have to take the fork off, and to take the fork off, you have to take the brake shoe off. Well, the brake shoe is frozen, so to get into this little compartment here, the screws were totally frozen in there, so I had to grind them off to get the cover off. The shoulder screw was totally rusted, couldn't get that out of there. So I was able to get my little Dremel tool in there with a cutoff wheel and cut this, so that's loose. Then I found out it's broken off from the top part of the handle. So we're going to have to fish that out from the other end when we take the handle out. We'll have to do that in order to fix that. The way the tube expanded, we also have that problem inside of the gooseneck. On each end of the gooseneck, there's a brass bushing bearing. Okay, this is an example of another one that I had where it swole up in the middle there, if you can see that. And that means you can't pull this tube out of the gooseneck. What I had to do was slice the gooseneck itself up to the bearing and spread that a little bit, so when the fork was cut off or taken off, you could pull this part of the tube out and then weld that back together and put your bushing bearing back in. Okay, next step here, I don't know if you can see it here, I'm going to have to cut this to get the fork off and then see what I can do about getting the tube outside of the gooseneck. If you can see this, I have it circled. That's where they drilled a hole in the tubing and brazed onto the handlebar unit and then filed it down. I'm going to get this guy off there. We have to salvage that. And I don't think we can salvage the brake shoe. We'll see. Once I get this off and put it in a hydraulic press, maybe that'll push out of there. We'll see. I didn't get the tapered pin drilled out of the fork. There it is. That piece is still stuck in the fork. I have to take that out to the hydraulic press tomorrow. I did pound on it with my lead hammer and I got it to move about 1/4 of an inch. Covered up the hole, the tapered pin hole. So it means it moves. That's a good sign. But I have to get out there with the press. Now our next project is right here. Here's the little pin that I drilled out for the handle out of there. Now, the handle goes up to here, so that means there's this much. It's a little over almost 3.5 inches of the arm inside of there. So I was trying to get it out this way, and no way would it come out. And this head on the brake handle pin, shoulder screw actually it is rusted so hard I'm going to have to grind that whole thing off of there. I'll try putting a slot in there. The slot is totally filled up, but you can't see that. It's just all rust in there. I was going to put a box wrench on there, but it's rusted so bad it's undersized and the wrench just turns around on it and the next size under doesn't fit. So that's it. I'm going to work on this tonight, and tomorrow we'll go out in the garage and push out the rest of the handlebar tube from the pin out. That was a fun project. You probably can't see it here, but it's a little small for the hole because that's brazed in there on both sides. So that'll be a chore after I make a new pin for it to see if I could get it out. I ground down the head of the shoulder screw in there. But the big problem is, let's see if I can get this out here so you can see it, is this gap on the side. This part of the arm spread out from the rust, and that makes it too big to go through the tube there. So I was using this Dremel tool, 1.5 inch diameter cutter to get in there. You can do pretty much, but now I have a smaller one to see if I can get in there. I'm going to have to get in there and go in the side here to cut that little tip off the shoulder screw, and I might even have to grind away part of the brake rod itself in there. If I can do that, I can get it out, but the main thing, if I can get in there and get some room to squeeze this, I should be able to push it back through the tube. So that's my next chore here. So use these, but I find they don't cut as good as those, but you're limited to the space in here. And we'll see what we can do on it. Well, got it out. I was able to grind in enough in there where I could squeeze this. Tried getting it out, still didn't come out. However, with the piece of the brake rod in there, I had to grind a little bit off of there that was sticking out over this, what the outside diameter of this, to get it out. Here's where it broke, way back. So it goes like this. Way back like that. Okay, now I'd like to point out the hole here is larger than the hole in the oh, I can see it better over on this side. Better than the hole in the hand grip and the handlebar tube. So what I'm going to have to do is make a step pivot to go in there, and with the collar on the other side to fit this. So the inside will be here, the head will be this diameter, and on the other side I'll make a little collar to fit on there. Now the big decision is whether I'm going to braze this, and how am I going to fasten this, braze it or solder it with an insert inside there. Yet to be determined. We'll see how it goes. If I use solder to hold this in, it can't be chrome plated. So I'm really not worried about that, but it would be nice to do that because you can get a nice finish. That could be soldered in there when you get a nice finish for painting it. And by putting that piece inside a little U-channel to go inside up to here, that would strengthen it, and solder that in there, that would hold really good. So that might be the option I'm going to take. We'll see how it goes. Well, this is the brake handle where it's broke before restoring it. Just want to give you a full view of it. Well, another slight little problem here. I wanted to put this in a hydraulic press and push it from the top out to the bottom because of the size of the brake shoe itself. The head on it won't come through this way. So the other option is I can hold this up so you can see it. Got some slots cut in there. I'm going to take my trusty cut-off tool on a Dremel and cut the other part off so I can push it going from the bottom up to the top. That's my next step here. Get the little Dremel tool going. See how that does it here. Nope, not yet. There, it came off. Sides cut off. It's small enough now to push it from this side up to the top. That's next. There it goes. Well, came out that far on a hydraulic press. Seemed pretty easy. Well, we're going to stick it in a vise now and use a good old lead hammer to knock it out. Moving. This is in good shape. We're all set.